Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here. Around midday here on Thursday, February 9th, two different systems will have a big impact on the eastern half of the nation over the next few days. Right now, there's some accumulating snow going on across the upper part of the Midwest. That storm system will move across the Great Lakes and produce some accumulating snow upstate New York State, northern New England later tonight into the day on Friday. And then a pretty strong weekend storm system will develop near the Atlantic seaboard. It'll first take shape across the southeastern U.S. coastline early in the upcoming weekend, then only slowly be able to grind its way to the north and east during the weekend, likely impacting the mid-Atlantic region on Sunday and Sunday night, maybe even into the day on a Monday. There certainly will be rain involved with this particular system with the lack of cold air. However, elevation will be quite important, and there can be significant snow in some of the higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountains, and we'll have to watch what we call dynamic cooling in the atmosphere. There's going to be such strong vertical motion with this particular system that a dynamic cooling in the atmosphere could bring about a mixing with or even a changeover of plain rain to sleet or snow in some of those other areas besides the higher elevation areas, maybe even into the northern and western suburbs to the north and west of the mid-Atlantic I-95 region. This is the latest 12Z run we're looking at over the next few minutes here. This is the forecast map of total snowfall amounts over the next 84 hours. This goes all the way out to the end of the upcoming weekend. And really two systems to highlight here. First of all, over the next, let's say, 6 to 12 hours or so, some significant snow across the upper part of the Midwest from northern Missouri, across Iowa, northwestern Illinois, into Wisconsin and the northern half of Michigan. This same storm system will then slide into southeastern Canada, and the result will be some accumulating snow late tonight and on Friday throughout much of northern New England and all the way down into the upstate of New York. Now, that's not the only factor here with this current system. We have high winds that look like be an important issue over the next, let's say, 12 to 24 hours or so on the eastern side of that storm track, generally in the region from Indiana, Ohio, into western New York State. Right in this region right here, we could have some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Now, let's clear the table here. This is the snowfall expected with the weekend system, and in these higher elevation locations of, let's say, western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, eastern West Virginia, western Virginia, there can be some significant wet snow amounts here with this system. In fact, taking a look to some past weather events with similar atmospheric circumstances, places like Mount Mitchell, way up there in western North Carolina, had some excessive snowfall amounts. So watch out in this particular part of the Appalachian mountain chain and those higher elevation locations. This weekend system can bring about some significant wet snow and sleet. Even just to the north and west of I-95, we'll have to watch for the possibility of a mixing with or perhaps even a change over to sleet for a while or snow in some of those far northern western suburbs of big cities in the mid-Atlantic I-95 region, because there'll be such uplift in the atmosphere that it can dynamically cool and bring about basically some cold air from aloft into the lower part of the atmosphere. So we'll have to watch in this area as well. But certainly in those higher elevation regions, it could be in store for a significant wet snow event. Well, let's walk through today's 12Z run of the NAM model over the next 84 hours. This goes all the way out to Sunday evening. Again, there's really like two different systems we're talking about that will have an impact in much of the eastern half of the nation. We're looking at the 500 millibar height field and the vorticity. These are vorticity maxima right here and here as well over the Rocky Mountains. This particular system will push up in this fashion, impacting today the upper Midwest with some snowfall, and tomorrow the northern part of New England. This, we'll see in a moment, dives to the south and really helps to spawn the development of a strong low pressure area near the eastern seaboard. First, the southeastern U.S. coastline, and then that'll grind its way up to the mid-Atlantic coastline by late in the upcoming weekend. So let's walk through this. And again, we're looking at the vorticity maxima here, kind of splitting into two different systems. This one up into the Great Lakes region by late today, and this one taking a dive to the south and east into the deep southern part of the deep south over the next 24 hours. So here we are now into the early part of Friday morning. And again, this initial system causes snow today from Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, even Iowa, all the way up into northern Michigan, and then late tonight, tomorrow, right here, northern New England, upstate New York. And then here's that weekend system taking shape early Friday morning. That upper level feature slowly works its way to the deep south and then starts to move slightly to the north and east. Here we are now all the way into Sunday morning. At this time, we'll have low pressure that will move from the southeast U.S. coastline all the way to the Carolina coastline and then to the mid-Atlantic region by the latter part of the upcoming weekend. Here we go all the way out to Sunday evening. This will be an area with strong upward motion. And we talked about elevation. Dynamic cooling will be something to monitor as well. That could cause some sleet and snow in some of the lower elevation areas, even perhaps as close by to the big cities as the far northern and western suburbs late Sunday, late Saturday night into Sunday night. Again, a very healthy looking system in the upper part of the atmosphere. Well, another way to look at these features, we looked at the vorticity maximum. Now let's take a look at the height anomalies, the 500 millibar height anomalies. Again, kind of two separate areas right here as we begin the day here on Thursday and here over the Rockies. Now let's just kind of quickly walk through this. Again, this initial system pushes up north and east into the Great Lakes region, and the secondary, the follow-up system, takes a dive to the south and east, and it becomes a real slow mover here. This first system kind of pushes and weakens a little bit by the time we get to late tonight into Friday morning, but it has enough strength to cause some accumulating snow on Friday, upstate New York, northern New England. And here is a real healthy looking upper level low, and it slowly moves through deep south on Friday, helps to create a surface low pressure area right in this area on Saturday. And then this whole system shifts to the north and east. There's still some question as to exactly how far to the north it can have an impact late in the upcoming week. And certainly it looks like the southern part of the mid-Atlantic region will get some rain and wind on Sunday into Sunday night, maybe even as late as into early Monday morning. The northern part of the Mid-Atlantic region still a little bit in question, but here we are on Sunday afternoon and finally into Sunday evening. Again, a lot of upward motion right in this region right here. Those vertical velocities that lift in the atmosphere could cause some dynamic cooling, which brings it down some colder air from aloft into the lower levels, and it could cause a mixing with of the rain with sleet, maybe even snow to the north and west of I-95. And certainly right in this area, the high elevation areas of the Appalachian Mountains, watch out for the potential of some significant wet snow accumulations with this upcoming weekend system. Well, let's now walk through the surface forecast maps. Again, we're using the very latest NAM model run, the 12Z model run. Accumulating snow right now, Missouri will spread into Iowa, Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and then upper part of Michigan over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. And again, to the south and east of that storm track, there'll be some excessive wind gusts, maybe 60 miles per hour. Indiana, Ohio, all the way up into western New York over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Now, let's walk through this. on an hourly basis here, again, using the 12Z NAM. Here we go with that accumulating snow extending all the way up into the northern part of Michigan by later today. And it produces some accumulating snow across northern New England and into the upper part of New York State as well later today, into tonight, and on Friday. Frontal system does slide through the eastern U.S. Pretty uneventful. Even the air behind it will not be all that cold, and that's why, even though we have a favorable storm track this weekend for snow in the mid-Atlantic region in the early part of February, in this particular case, there will be a lack of cold air, and that's why it will take elevation to produce some snow. It will take some very, very strong dynamic cooling in the atmosphere to bring down cold air from aloft down to the lower part of the atmosphere. Here we go into Friday morning, and this is the time where that upper level feature starts to have an impact down across the deep south. Here we go into Friday night, and finally by Saturday morning, low pressure starts to take shape here. And again, on the backside of that front in the mid-Atlantic region, there will not be a significant influx of cold air. That's a key factor here as we begin the weekend. Low pressure intensifies along the U.S. southeast U.S. coastline. Here we go. By the time we get to Sunday morning, a lot of snow could pile up over those high elevation areas of the Appalachian Mountains, eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, even the upstate of South Carolina into Georgia. As you can see right here, could get some accumulating snow. Those high elevations. Elevation is the key here. And all the way into eastern West Virginia, even western Virginia. Watch out for some wet snow. And the purple here represents some sleet. And again, there's a possibility that just to the north and west of I-95, let's say north and west of D.C., well north and west of D.C., and even Philadelphia, can be some sleet or snow in this weekend system because of very, very strong upward motion and that dynamic cooling in the atmosphere. This is all the way to midday on Sunday, which happens to be Super Bowl Sunday. And again, this storm track here from the coastline down here to the Carolina coastline to just off the mid-Atlantic coastline, normal in a normal winter would produce some snow in the I-95 corridor region, but there's a lack of cold air this particular event here. But again, watch out in those high elevation areas of the Appalachian Mountains. They could have some significant snowfall. Places like Mount Mitchell, for example, in past weather events where it's kind of similar atmospheric setup here, there was sometimes 1 to 2 feet of snow. So watch out in those very high elevation areas of the Appalachians with this system over the upcoming weekend. And again, on the peripheral area here, well to the north and west of that surface low, there may be enough upward motion to produce some sleet and snow. But from the immediate I-95 corridor region to the coast, watch out for rain and wind as well this upcoming weekend. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.